Welcome to Figure Eight, where we feature inspiring stories of women entrepreneurs who have grown their businesses to 7 and 8 figures revenue. If you're in the mix of growing a bigger business, these stories are for you. Join us as we explore where the tough spots are, how to overcome them, and how to prepare yourself for the next portion of the climb. I'm your host, Julie Ellis. I'm an author, entrepreneur, and a growth and leadership coach who co-founded, grew, and exited an 8-figure business. This led me to exploring why some women achieve great things. And that led to my book, Big Gorgeous Goals. Let's explore the systems, processes, and people that help us grow our businesses to new heights. If you're interested in growing your business, this podcast will help. Now, let's get going. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Figure Eight. Today, I am in conversation with Tarra Stubbins. And Tarra started her career managing the lives of big rock stars and famous people. And she has now taken that over into her own business, where she helps entrepreneurs with chiefs of staff and executive assistants. And so the Take It Easy group is there to help us all grow bigger and better businesses with the kind of support we need. And I'm very interested and excited to talk to you today. Welcome, Tarra, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I'm so interested because, one of the things that I think as entrepreneurs, we are reluctant to hand things off to people because we often feel like we can do them better ourselves. But it's a really key piece to scaling up your business, scaling up yourself as a leader and growing. And so I think it's, interesting how you've got this experience with managing very high-powered people who I'm sure are demanding and busy, and it's important that things are done right, and how you can take that into the entrepreneurial world and really help people.
Yeah, it's true. And it's interesting because when you get to a certain level of success, you don't even think about what can I delegate? It's just automatic. Absolutely everything is delegated. And I'm a true believer in the fact that successful people are successful because they understand what's noise in their day-to-day life and what they actually have to work on and focus on. And then the rest of us who kind of struggle to get over that hump of success are always thinking, oh, well, I'll just do it because I can do it faster. Or is this, noise? Or is this actually something that I have to concentrate on? So that once you actually figure out what you can delegate and what you can actually keep for yourself to move your goals and your dreams forward, then that's really the key in building big businesses and big success.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting observation that at that really high level of performance that you have to basically delegate everything. I think that's and I've never really thought of it that way. I mean, and just the idea of like, we all hang on to things because not even do we maybe think we're better, but we kind of like doing them.
Yeah.
Like I think of like, I like looking for flights. I like the chase. I like but that's a really classic example of the kind of things that like you shouldn't be doing as an entrepreneur. You should be having somebody else do for you.
Yeah, it's true. I actually just, my team just onboarded with a very, very busy entrepreneur. And she kept saying, I need a flight to Seattle, Australia, like all these different places. And our executive assistant, when we onboard, we put together like information. Okay, these are all the flights that we would book. This is the reason why. And she was saying, this is taking too long. I'm just going to book it. And I had to step in and say, hold on a second. If you just book it, then we never learn. And so we can go back and forth for one day of, and it's not even that much time. We put together a document. You just have to review it and say why you would pick what or why you would agree with what we were picking or whatever. Literally 5 minutes of your time. And, and then we learn and then we can do it all the time moving forward. But it is a good example. If you do enjoy doing it, then, maybe you book your flights for a big family vacation and not necessarily all your business trips. Or maybe you take one business trip a year and that's the one that you want to book. So fine, you can find other things to delegate if that's something that you really, truly love doing.
Yeah. But it begs the question of like, yes, you can love doing it, but is it actually, where I can make the most impact in growing my business, growing revenue, all the different parts of that, and really work in that like genius zone that's making me a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, love him or hate him, Elon Musk talks about it a lot, where he talks about, and I kind of hinted at it at the very beginning of, what's noise in your everyday. And there's kind of a success rule that says you should concentrate only 20% a day on the noise and 80% of the day on everything else. Elon Musk does 100% on everything else. He is very, very good at just laser focusing on what needs to be done and only what needs to be done. Not the average person can do that. But, as new business owners, or even if you're been in business for a while, but you run a small team, there are always fires. There are always things that are being thrown at you on a day-to-day basis. So it's really trying to figure out, okay, what is the biggest thing that I have to accomplish today? Or what is the biggest problem I have to solve today? And is this noise, or is this actually something that I have to put out the fire with, or something that's going to move the needle on my goal? And it's a good exercise to do before you jump into anything, before you start problem solving, before you send that email, before you start writing the proposal. Just ask the question, is this the biggest fire I have to put out today? Or is this something that is actually going to move the needle a little tiny percent? It doesn't have to be big, towards what my big goal is. And if you say yes to one of the two, then go ahead. That should be something that you should concentrate on. If it's not, then it could be delegated. It could be put to, it could wait. It could be forgotten about sometimes, depending on what it is. So those are good questions to ask.
Yeah. And I think even just, popped into my head as you were talking there, like the idea of what are all the little things that are on my to-do list that,
Yeah.
I don't actually need to do. They need to be done. But, and then you've got the stuff where like week to week, you're just rewriting it on a new list. Right. And so, and
Oh, yeah.
some of that is stuff that someone could easily handle. Some of it though, is the important work that you're not quite moving your project along because you're caught in all of those little details.
Yeah, I always say that to-do lists beat us up as human beings, because they're just something that you just keep getting longer and longer and longer. Or, you write your list for the day and then you go out into the world thinking, or stay at home and do your work and into your office and think, I'm going to get these three things done. And then it never happens. And then you feel horrible. You feel like you're, useless, that you're not good enough, that like, I can't build a business. I can't even do these three things on my list. So I love taking things out of my brain and putting them down on paper or in a virtual document, or something, and kind of creating a list that way. But creating a list that runs my day is something that I don't recommend, because you're always going to feel like a failure after. You're never going to get everything on that list done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. And I've started having like, there's a big list, but on a daily basis, I'm like, these are the three most important things I need to get through today. And if I can
Yeah.
do more than three of them, I got a big list I can go look at, but I'm not like, it's not that constant, like, bleh.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in putting that list on your calendar. So then you know exactly when you are going to do these three really important things. And if you have time for it, maybe you work a 9 to 5 job and have a side hustle and have a family, or all of us are dealing with a lot of things that also get put on our calendar. So if our calendar is full and then we have this sticky note of these 3 things that we want to do, it's hard to get those 3 things into the calendar and when we're actually going to have time to do it. So I love scheduling it in. Now, a lot of times you're either going to book too much time for the task or not enough time. And it's going to feel a little frustrating trying to fit it in. Oh, I can never fit these tasks in. But that's something that's habit that you can build over time and practice of, okay, these things take me half an hour or 3 days or whatever it is.
Or the idea that maybe the task you're trying to accomplish is actually in 3 parts. And so you should break it into the 3 parts and schedule the time.
Exactly. And have any of us always like put off, I know I do this all the time, put off projects that I don't like. So a lot of times it's like reconciling my books or bookkeeping because I think that it's going to take thousands of hours to do. And I put it off, put it off, put it off. And then finally I sit down to do it and it takes 20 minutes. And I'm like, why did I put this off for so long and block a whole Saturday in my calendar to do it? It happens to me all the time.
I'll trick my brain with those sometimes. I'm like, well, I'm putting it off. I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes. I'm going to close all my apps and put my phone back there. And I'm just going to work on it for 30 minutes. And like, it's amazing how sometimes when you do that, all of a sudden it's done.
Yeah.
It's just gone off the
Yeah.
list, right?
It's the trick of if you have company coming over and you have to clean your house, sometime
Right.
you can clean your house in 20 minutes, but it takes like an entire day. It's the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. So when you started out and you were working with these really high profile people, how did that dropping into someone's life who is already accustomed to handing everything off, what was that like? And how did it open your eyes to how they lived versus how like the rest of us kind of manage our own lives?
Yeah, it really opened my eyes to how I was always very fascinated from the moment I started in that career and path in life of why these people, why are these people the ones up on stage bringing in hundreds of thousands of people a night or making the really really big movies or whatever, they building these big businesses? Why them? Is there like this lottery of life? Have they just fallen into this like really lucky time or got this big break somehow? And I was always curious of like, why them and not me? And so I was like a sponge from day one of figuring out what they were doing in their day to day to be successful. And I always thought, and I think what a lot of people think is it's like, what is their morning routine? Can I copy their morning routine to be successful? And then I realized, well, they all have different morning routines. Some get up at 5 a.m., some get up at 1 p.m., some, run a marathon before they work, some smoke a cigar and drink a bottle of Jack Daniels. Like it depends on who you are. So I always kind of thought, well, that's not something that I can actually copy. And then I started realizing that it was 3 things. It was one, what we talked about, focus. They had a goal and they understood what their goal was all the time. And they always knew what they were driving for. It wasn't anything wishy washy. It was, I want to write the best song and go to number 1. I want to sell out this arena for the very first time. I want to win an Oscar, whatever it was. They had big goals, and whatever they did in their day to day, they were driving towards that. And I think that delegation is like other things we were talking about, is a habit. So they have gotten to the point where they don't even have to think, can you go do my dry cleaning? Can you do this? They're not embarrassed by it. They're not ashamed that they're asking for it. It's just something that they have done to build this success and that they just keep doing it. And people around them, if you have good people around you, they want to help. They want to do the things that you are asking so you can go and do whatever. I wanted to help. I wanted to do all those little things. I didn't want to sing on this stage. I was more than happy to go get coffee or whatever it was. Um, so taking that shame away and really understanding where, or embarrassment, and really understanding focus. And then the other thing I learned was um, they never multitask. They always are focused on one goal and one goal only. It's not, okay, I'll write a book and I'll start a podcast and I'll start then my coaching funnel and then maybe I'll make some candles and then all by December 31st or December 1st. It's like, no, they are, training for a marathon or, rehearsing for this world tour. It's one big goal and that is it. And then all the other things can come in after once you're successful at one. So really understanding, again, that focus in what you are actually driving towards.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point because I think so many of us are operating with so many lanes open and so many big rocks we're trying to push up the hill. And then, you see people get frustrated because they're not making enough progress in any one place.
Yeah, it's true. And it's about efficiency too. So some of us have probably heard that, to go fast, you actually go slow. So you slow it down and kind of think if you're running towards things so quickly, you're not actually, the tortoise and the hare story. You're not actually going to win the race. Same with efficiency. If you're trying to do everything, you're not going to be able to get everything done. Efficiency is actually about focusing on what you can get done and getting rid of everything else. And I talk to a lot of people who say, I'm just starting out. I'm a single mom. I have no money. I'm barely making ends meet. How am I supposed to delegate anything? And I always say there's always a way. You can trade services. You can ask a neighbor if you can maybe look after their child for one day while they work, and then they can look after your child. Whatever it is, there's always ways to be creative. It doesn't have to be spend $50 or $10 or $1,000 to get something off your plate.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so interesting because I think, as somebody who has some help in the role I occupy right now, every now and then she's like, Julie, I need you to give this to me. like,
Yes.
okay. Like when then you realize like you're the barrier actually to her getting her job done. Right. And
Yeah.
so those little nudges are great, but it is that like, you need that person who has that amount of proactivity too, I think, as you're learning about delegating and as you're learning about how to just unload things, because they need to be able to come in and say, very gently, of course, that hey, let me do that for you.
Yeah. It's kind of a catch 22 because sometimes you don't want to spend or you don't have a lot of money to spend on that proactive partner that can actually help you. But delegation is a habit. You don't run on a treadmill and think that after an hour you're going to lose 20 pounds. It would be nice. I would love that, but it doesn't happen. Same with delegating. You can't delegate one task and now think that you're a master of being able to focus on the one thing. So if you have to hire, free labor or, inexpensive help while you're first kind of learning to at least let go of something, I think that's a great stepping stone. And then you will actually realize that, okay, I let go of this CRM spreadsheet project and I actually got this big funnel, laid out by myself that I've never had time for, or I had a creative moment all of a sudden because I wasn't thinking about my taxes because I let that go. So then you can actually go, okay, well, that funnel or that creative moment actually made me $100 extra. So now I'm going to take that and invest it in a more proactive partner. That's obviously an extreme example, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how did you, I mean, I think the like question, I mean, the rock and roll life, managing these like really high powered people is like a life lots of people are like, wow, about.
Yeah.
How did you get into that business? What was it that led you down the path to working for some of these famous names that we all know?
Well, I have to say it was maybe, I don't know, a stupid decision, but maybe not. It was definitely not a planned out path of mine. I actually in high school was, hanging out with some local, not famous at all, garage bands and musicians. And that was kind of my thing. And then all of a sudden I got asked if I would jump on a tour bus. It wasn't even really a tour bus. It was like a dirty van going across Canada and help. And help was literally laundry, sweeping the stage, like not very glamorous work at all. And so I did it. I, dropped out of high school and I jumped on this van and my mother wanted to kill me. And it was before cell phones too. So here I was in this random van going across Canada. But and again, I don't really encourage that for people. But the one thing that I was doing is I was following a passion and I was following a dream that I always had. And my dream was I wanted to be some sort of rock star, but I didn't have any musical talent at all. I still don't. And I love music. I appreciate music, but I cannot make music happen. The way that I can make it happen is by supporting the people who can. And so I was actually following my dream and focusing on that one dream, not even knowing that that's what I was going to take away from the people that I was actually working with.
Yeah. And so then you went from sweeping stages and kind of looking around at seeing whatever needed to be done and doing it to, I assume, working with bigger and bigger names.
Yeah, the kind of entertainment industry, like the film industry, it's a small industry, so you can build a name for yourself pretty quickly if you enjoy what you're doing and bring something and bring like positivity to the table. There's a lot of people who want to use it as a stepping stone or, and aren't actually enjoying what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and that brings everyone else down. So because I absolutely loved doing what I was doing, I wanted to help people. I wanted to just do whatever I could to make their days happier and easier. And so that is how I could build a name for myself and then get asked to do bigger and bigger and bigger tours.
And what made you decide to leave and start this business?
So I had a big aha moment when I was actually in Shanghai. So I was on a world tour with a massive rock and roll band. And one of the crazy requests that this rock star always asked for was that he wanted his toothbrush to be sanitized every time it came out of the suitcase. So every time we stayed in a new hotel, which was almost every night or every other night, I had to sanitize his toothbrush in the hotel dishwasher. So a lot of people ask me why. I don't know. I don't ask rock stars why. A lot of people ask me, why don't you just buy a new toothbrush? I don't know. Again, I didn't ask. And people always ask me, did you do it? And you didn't just run it under hot water? And I would say, yeah, actually I did. I don't know why I did, but I did. So a lot of the hotels would know because we'd stayed there before that, here comes this crazy lady with the toothbrush. But a lot of times we'd be in new hotels or new cities and we hadn't stayed there before. And in this one time in Shanghai, it was a brand new hotel, luxury hotel. We were staying, in the presidential suite. And there I was in the back of the kitchen trying to convince these people that I had to put this toothbrush in their dishwasher. And they didn't speak English. I don't speak their language. And I was trying to like make gestures. And it was kind of before cell phones could, Google Voice translate what I was saying. So I was trying to make these gestures of, how to put this toothbrush in the dishwasher. And they were looking at me like I had three heads. And I remember standing there thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. And that's when I had this big aha moment that I love helping people. I want to help people, but I just want to help more than one crazy rock star at a time. So I ended the tour. I finished the tour, came off the road, and decided I'm just going to open up my own business. No idea what I was doing. I was a dirty roadie. No idea. I didn't even really know what business was. I didn't even know what I wanted to do, but ended up opening up a personal concierge and lifestyle management business, which is still running, to manage the lives of high net worth and high profile people because that's what I was used to. And then through that, I started becoming friends with entrepreneurs and other people who were building businesses because I craved that connection because I hadn't built a business. I didn't know what I was doing and I wanted that community. And I started to realize that they were struggling to get over this kind of hump of success because they didn't have that strategic support behind them. So I started helping them just as a friend. And then it grew into what Take It Easy is today, which is the fractional executive assistants and chief of staff.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting too, because that entrepreneurial journey is hard. Like you started doing everything. And I always, kind of say like nobody starts a business because they think 50 or 100 people are going to report to them, right? It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
it's not what you think when you start something. And so there's this like journey. And I really think this like getting support is like that team aspect of how you can leverage yourself so quickly by having two people kind of in your orbit, right? You have yourself, you have your EA or your chief of staff, and it just allows you to lever up really quickly.
Yeah, it really does. I always say that delegation or assistance is not a luxury. People always think that it's something, something I'll have when I'm rich or something I'll have when I'm successful. That's what, successful people have, but it's not. It's the actual thing that helps you get to that point of success and be able to have a bigger team and outsource more and more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about like as your business grows and you get busier, you spend a lot of time in your meetings, right? And
Oh, yeah.
get a lot of email and a lot of requests for things and a lot of like all of those pieces where, you've got somebody saying, there's 3 important emails I really need you to look at today. Like someone who's already pre scanned that, somebody who's, making sure that you get out of that meeting and on to the next one. And like all of those little, someone who makes sure that you eat lunch, like quite
Yeah.
honestly, because like there is just that piece of like how they become this really big gatekeeper for you as well in terms of protecting your time and protecting, the precious resource.
Yeah. And there are a lot of AI tools now that will scan your inbox and brief you on important tasks and things that you're missing. They can help you create a schedule where you do have lunch. They can even send out a reminder on your computer or phone that says "Go eat lunch now." But there's something, and I leverage AI tools all the time, but there is something about having that extra person that you can bounce ideas off of. You can ask, is this I'm telling AI that this is important and has to be done, but actually is it for our business goals? So somebody that you can kind of question. And just, yeah, having that like human strategic interaction is really helpful, especially if you're a lone business person or if you're a business person with like a lot of contractors that you're trying to manage yourself. It's really helpful to have somebody on your team who has that same vision as you and can help you move that forward as well.
Yeah. And when you think about like the role of like an executive assistant versus a chief of staff, where do you see those kind of differences in what people need and how the roles function?
Yeah, so executive assistants I think of as definitely more administration heavy. Administration, but with a strategic edge. So obviously, calendar management, inbox management, project management, helping push tasks forward, kind of light team alignment. So, these are the projects of the whole organization, who's kind of putting what, across the finish line, and how can I help with anything, meeting notes, or yes, AI does that, but like generating it and putting it out to the team, and different things like that. That's what I would say a good strategic executive assistant does. A chief of staff, in my opinion, and there are so many definitions of chief of staff, and it depends on what you need for your business, is more of a light COO. So they're ones who have a more operational mind, a more project management mind, can really align teams, can be that executive presence for you. If you can't sit in a meeting because you're double booked, the chief of staff can sit in that meeting for you and actually know what you would say and be able to communicate it in a way that you would have done if you were on the meeting. So that very like senior leadership. They also, in my world, because it's very much of an assistant world, our chief of staff also do administrative tasks as well, but they're definitely more senior leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really good distinction, right? Where they can be the voice of the leader, the person they're working for, and represent them, as opposed to the more, strategic admin side.
Yeah,
I think that's
totally
a really
agree.
good distinction in the pulling apart of those two roles. Yeah.
I
And
totally agree.
when do you find people come to you? Is there an overwrought, overworked, like what's that crossroads look like?
Yeah, it's usually when the founder or CEO realizes that they are the roadblock to the business becoming a success, or somebody on their team comes to us and says, the founder, the CEO, is a roadblock to our success, and we can't get what we need done because it's sitting in their inbox or on their to-do list or on their plate. So it's really that, like, people have big goals and they know that the business can get to the next level, and they just need that extra support to get to the next level.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Interesting that sometimes it's team members that come and want to hire someone for their boss.
Yep. We have COOs and HR people coming to us all the time saying, okay, enough's enough. We can't do this anymore. So, yeah.
That is a really great employee, somebody who will do that
Yeah,
for the CEO.
it's true. It's a good employee, and it's a good CEO kind of boss leader relationship, allowing them to go do that and bring understanding that, okay, I am the roadblock. I am affecting the team. Okay, let's go do this.
Yep. And so what's next for you now? Like you're building a team, you're supporting many, many, many businesses now. And I mean, what's on the path for you?
Yeah, I'm really excited to launch a coaching kind of educational, I don't really want to call it coaching, more educational module, so I can really help entrepreneurs and founders who are really wanting to understand the power of delegation and how that can help them get to the next level of success. Sometimes our prices are a little too high for barrier of entry, and I really want to help as many people as I possibly can build that successful business. I always say I'm probably not going to cure cancer. Oh, I know I'm not going to cure cancer, but if I can help a business or a founder that can, I absolutely love that. And I want to help more and more of those founders.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really interesting because, yes, for the person who's sitting here thinking, that all sounds great, but I can't afford, it's that, how do you position yourself in the right way by some of the bartering or the things we talked about earlier? But how do you position yourself to be ready and know that when the day comes, you're going to be in that position where you understand how to get the most out of that relationship?
It's true. And also I see a lot, just because I'm in like the fractional service-based world. I talk to a lot of other fractional and service-based leaders and coaches. And I always hear the same thing. And they do really, really well at the beginning because it's all referrals and word of mouth. A lot of people leave their big corporate jobs with, big networks, and they have a wonderful first year. But then the clients start falling off there, and they haven't actually started building a pipeline or a marketing strategy or really anything because they've just been busy servicing their clients, which is absolutely necessary. And yes, referrals will happen, but using referrals as your main lead generation source, it's going to dry up at some point, or you're not going to be able to build and scale to a level that maybe you want to. If you just want one or two clients at a time, then fine, absolutely. So really allowing people and teaching people how to actually think about all these important aspects of the business and also successfully service the business or your clients at the same time, being a small team of one or two people.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for people to think about as they navigate the business development, delivery, roller coaster that happens. I think that's really great.
Yeah, because how many of us have been, so busy we haven't thought about business development. Then we lose that big client or we lose two of them and then we panic. And then it takes 6 months to actually get another client because you have to build up the momentum again.
Yeah. And then you have the client, you stop business developing.
Yeah.
It's those cycles that you very clearly see people getting into. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, I'm very glad that businesses like yours exist, and I think you can make a real difference for entrepreneurs. And I hope that this was helpful for the listeners to think about how to get better at delegating.
Yes, I hope so too. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you won't miss any episodes. Figure 8 isn't just a podcast. It's a way of seeing the big, gorgeous goals of women entrepreneurs coming to life. If you're interested in learning more, you can find my book, Big Gorgeous Goals, on Amazon anywhere you might live. For more about my growth and leadership training programs, visit www.julieellis.ca to see how we might work together. Read my blog, or sign up to get your free diagnostic. Are you ready for growth? Once again, that's www.julieellis.ca. When we work together, we all win. See you again soon for another episode of Figure 8.